So guys, what we did in last video, let me just check what I'll do. Let me run this index.jsp, right click, run on server, all right, and then finish. So we'll have this. Okay, login was already there. You can see that is welcome test. Now let me go to the products. For example, if I want to buy that product, so when I'll click add to cart, so that option is not happening. You know why? Because when we are going to add this to cart, so ideally we require two more sublet and one JSP file. So what is that JSP? So that JSP ideally which we required, that is checkout.jsp. Okay, and apart from that, we required some sublet. So let me add this checkout.jsp. So now I'm just going to create this file. And remember, this file is similar to the cart. Okay, whatever we'll have in this cart, so that file remains same, but only we required a couple of changes that I'll tell you. Let me just right click, new, and then one second. Right click, new, and then JSP. So that JSP is check out. All right. So this is checkout.jsp. Now we already have this cart.jsp. So what I'll do, let me copy everything from this cart. Let me paste it to checkout, Control S. Okay. Now see, that section remains same. Like if you'll check, let me just move this to left. If you'll check, so this is the shopping cart. We'll have that list that will going to check everything. If cart is null, you can simply say, like, if you directly click to this checkout option, then what happened? So you can see that your cart is null. Okay, we are not going to add anything. Like, let me just refresh. Oh, 1 second. It's working because we had already pressed that product. So what I'll do, let me stop the project and then I'll just go back to index and let me run this. Right click, run on server. Let me start the server and then we can check. Right now we'll only have the issue with the image so that we can check later. Ideally that require the text context. So now it is not login. So let me just log in. test@gmail.com. Password is 1234. Let me click on login. All right, now see, we'll have this option. Now let me add this. Now that is added to cart. Now when I'll go back to proceed to checkout, you can see that item is there. Right, so we'll have, now there you can see we'll have this option which is remove. Okay, because that was in cart as well. Right, so when I'll click on remove, you can just focus on the URL which is coming in this bottom. It is asking for the sublet, remove from cart sublet with the product ID. So of course we need to provide this. Right, so how we are going to provide this, that we'll check. Ideally, we don't have that. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just go to the checkout.jsp again. This is cart.jsp, right? This is not checkout. So now we can say that product is empty, and there you can see that we'll have everything, whatever we'll have in that cart.jsp. We'll have the item. Okay, then we'll have the subtotal, and we'll have this remove from cart, looks good. Then we'll have the total amount, and then table is closed. All right. So when table is closed, you can see it is redirecting to the checkout and product. But here we need to add a couple of things because this file is different. So what we need to add, I'll just go with the H2, enter your details. Okay. And there ideally what I required. Now there I required form tag. And in this form, I required a sublet that will going to order the data. Okay, so I'll just require a order sublet. So that sublet ideally we also need to create. Okay, so in this ideally what I just want a input control space type equals to text, and then we'll just go with a name equals to name. So I'll got a name of a user, so we can add CSS later. And after that, we require the address. So let me just go with the address tag. So this should be the address. Okay. And after that address, we'll also require the phone number. Whatever field you think are required that you can enter there. So this should be the phone number. Okay. And phone number, I think that's enough. And then we can go to the button input control space type equals to submit, or you can go with button as well. So this should be the submit, and value equals to place order, place, place order. Right. So that will going to place order. And after that, form tag is closed. Yes, that is closed. Now we just require, like for example, if user want to go back to the cart, so what I'll do, I'll just provide a URL with go back to cart.jsp. So that option is available, and I'll just provide a message back to cart. Looks good. Okay. So anything else pending? I'm just getting this message. Why? No issue. That is us just asking for the tag. All right. So now next what we require, next we require the logout.jsp. Okay, so logout.jsp we can add later. Now we require the product sublet. Okay, so first of all, let me create the sublet, and we are just going to create sublet in, might be in, let me just check. Package by default, it is selected. So product sublet. This will be the next sublet which we required. Okay. So now in the sublet, ideally what we required, see, that sublet will help us to communicate with the product. Okay. So first of all, we need to fetch all the products. So how we can fetch it? So for that purpose, let me just go with a list of product. Okay. This will be the product. Control space products equals to product down. Now let me fetch this from the DAO. DAO dot get all products. Simple, right? Okay, so that will provide all the products, right? Now we need to set this to the attribute. So ideally we require request dot set attribute. Once again. Oh, sorry, it should be request, my bad. Request dot set attribute. Now see, now what comes as an attribute? So attribute will be the mm, string value. So that I'm going to set in product variable, right? And products ideally. This is like our approach. Whatever you are going to write there, the same should be there. Okay, like it is suggestible. Otherwise, it is difficult for us some time to remember. Now we'll just require request again. Once again, request dot get request. Let me just go with the dispatcher. Correct. Now it is looking for the string path ideally, where we are going to fetch this. So we are going to fetch this to a file that is products.jsp. So that file we must have. Okay. And what it does, that help with the forward. It is asking two URL. First is the request and second is the response. So let me just press enter. It will automatically fetch everything. Now what it does, see, request dispatcher ideally used to forward the data from next to another. Okay. So that's done. Now next we require the cart sublet. Let me just try to complete this product. I mean the code. Next we require the cart sublet, whatever is pending, we can wind up. Now in this cart sublet, ideally what we required, in this we are again going with the same method with the session. Okay, so what I'll do, let me just create a session for the user, HTTP session, session, control space session equals to, that required a session from the previous page. So let me just go with the request dot get session. It's fetched. All right. Now looks good. And now we require the user. Okay. So user equals to, now this user should be fetched the session from the user itself. So session dot get attribute for the user. Now, no, it's because of the user type. We need to typecast. Let me hover the mouse it should require the typecasting. Works fine. Right. Now, if we need to identify if user equals to null. Now, see, if we don't have any user, then we should send back it to login. Okay, response dot send redirect to login dot html, I think. Okay, so that is login dot jsp. So what happened? See, if I'll go back to this page, let me just go to this and go back. Now, if user is not logged, let me just go to index. There you can see if I'll go to the product. So we can see that in that we are not logged in right now. Once again, we are not logged in right now. So it identify that there is no login of the respective user, right? So it should send back to the user for login purpose. So this is what actually we are doing there. If we'll identify that user is not login, so we'll send back to the response.jsp. Okay, now let me just go with the list of card, and uh, card items equals to, let me just fetch them from cart DAO dot get cart item. Okay, and that cart item will fetch with the user ID. So ideally what happened, that user will store, like for example, my user is test. Okay, so test is stored in this variable. If test is not login, it will identify that user is not login. It will send back to the this login.jsp. Now, if user is login, then what happened? What happened? See, ideally we'll have this user reference, and from this user we need to fetch this with user dot get ID. So yes, that will fetch the cart item for the logged in user. Remember, fetch the cart item for the respective logged in user. Now we can set the session dot set attribute, and that we can set as the cart item itself, semicolon. Let me just go back to this, done. Okay. And after that, we can send it back to response dot send redirect to which page? To card.jsp. Card.jsp. Looks good. Any error? No error. Okay. So that we had defined in the this method. Okay. And now there we are going to write couple of things in do post as well. So what are those things? So what I'll do in this do post, ideally, see, we'll just perform a secure communication. So let me remove this. Okay, and let me remove this. Now in this do post, ideally, what I required, again, I require a session. What I'll do, let me just copy this, copy, and then paste once again. Then paste, Control S, I'll got the session. After that, I also require the user attribute. See, just focus. I require the user attribute, and after that, we'll also require these things, right? The user should be login and everything. Now we require a couple of things. Now what happened? Now things are changed because this is a post block. So I'll just go with a string action equals to request dot get parameter. And in this parameter, I require the action. So that action we have defined. All right. Now in this action, if user want to add anything, like there we need to define if add dot equals action. So it means if user want to add anything. So what we need to do, we just need to provide integer product ID equals to integer that we need to fetch integer dot parseInt, and then request dot get parameter. And what should be the value? The value should be the product ID. Product ID. Perfect. All right. Now we need to fetch the product. Okay, so how I'll fetch product? Control space product equals to product DAO. We'll have the ID now. Okay. Product DAO that get product by ID. That will help us to fetch the product. Okay. Now, if we don't have any product, then we need to define things. If product Okay, if we'll have product, then product does not equals to null. Then what we need to do? We just need to add this. So boolean add equals to, we just need to add this from the cart down, control space, cart down dot add to cart. Okay, we require the ID is there and the user ID should be user dot get ID. Now we are going to add the respective product with the respective user ID, right? And now see, we need to identify is it added. So if added, then what we'll do? Then we need to set a session dot set attribute for the respective user in a message, message message, and that should be item added to cart, right? So that message will be prompt item added to cart, and that message, if you remember, we had called in the starting of JSP, right? So that we need to fetch. Else we can define that item failed to add, right? Failed to add. We'll just define message failed to add item. That's it. Failed to add item. Now it will say that item has failed. Now we can close this else and we can close this if, and after that we can just send back to response dot send redirect to product.jsp. Product.jsp. Okay. There we also need to define the remove section, right? So this is the if block. Once again, let me check. Yes, this is if block. After that, what happened? Else if. For example, if user want to remove, okay, like I don't want to continue with this. So remove dot equals to action. So in that case, what we need to do? We just need to fetch integer cart ID equals to, again, one second, what I'll do, let me copy this, copy, and then integer cart ID equals to get parameter, and then we'll just go with the cart ID. This should be the cart ID. Okay. And then we can same define the boolean, once again, boolean remove, remove, removed equals to cart down, second, dot remove. Oh, okay. So it means we don't have that remove method, right? So that we need to add, but we must have. Once again. Let me go back to cart down. We had not defined that remove. No, no, we'll have the get cart items. Okay, remove. Okay, right. So that I had wrote that we can add this later. So no issue. We can define this later. Now I'll just see. For example, there ideally what happened, it will, let me just create, that will create by default. Remove cart item. Okay, that will create a method and we can add things them. Add a couple of things. Now that will remove. Now it is giving me a message. Let me hover the mouse and let me create a method there. So that method will create, you can see. Okay, and in this method, what happened? If it is removing, so we need to define a couple of things. If removed, then we can just go with session dot set attribute message. And there we can define a message item remove from cart. That's it. Okay. Item ideally removed from cart. And then we can send back response dot send redirect to cart. Looks good. Okay. All right. Now this else if is closed. Now again we required another else if. So if user want to clear, right? So clear is, again we required a clear. So if clear dot equals action. So for example, user want to clear the thing. So in that case, again, we need to define what I'll do. Let me copy this and we require again a method. So that method should also be in the our cart down. So clear 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 cart. Okay, and that cart should be clear with user dot get id. Perfect. Now we don't have this method. Let me hover the mouse, it will clear again, I mean create it by default. Perfect. Now again session dot, once again let me copy this, session dot set attribute. Every time we are just going to call this, and the message is item clear, or ideally not item clear, cart clear, so that user can clear the complete cart. That's it. Okay, now next which we require, that is remove from cart. So that remove from cart we are going to create in next video. All right.